Some wanted you to explain catenaccio from yesterday. We're going to have to, with what it meant and whatever, because a lot of people were, they wanted to understand that, but also then get into the preview for the Chiefs game.
No. Well, catenaccio is just an Italian defensive strategy. It's the name that they give it, and it's about formulating a low defensive block in and around your box. And one of the most important principles for that is, or one of the key features for that is when you have auxiliary fullbacks. So auxiliary fullbacks is. Sorry, I have the liberty to have the ball. So. No, well, sorry. So what you would find is that you would, let's say they defend in a line of 4. But the wingers would come and create this, because then you've got, this is an auxiliary fullback. So if you were to, let's say for an example, you've got 2v1s on the side, and then you've eliminated maybe this guy. The reality is the one covering is the second fullback, and you still have a centre back inside. But yeah, that's what catenaccio is when the wingers drop into fullback positions, and then that creates that spare fullback, which is a buffer for the centre backs to have a little bit more protection. The game then moved to that back three sort of thinking with wing backs, which was still something still similar, and then you had the libero. But anyway, yeah. So TS Galaxy defend in something very similar to this, where you find a Mata coming all the way here, and then you have Sidat, and then you have Sanoka. We didn't want that. We wanted to be able to get beyond a Sidat and then engage Sanoka. But if you have first to get beyond the Mata, you still have Sanoka, and then they still have better possibilities to buffer your attack. So yeah. That's what catenaccio is. There's a little bit more to it, but generally it's an Italian way of defending.
Coach Gavin was worried about rest defense the other day.
No, I'm not getting into that space.
No,
I have big respect for Coach Gavin. I have a clear understanding, and I always say this to a lot of coaches when they ask me for advice. I say I'm the last person to give advice, because I don't have as much of the experience and the knowledge as people like Coach Gavin, number one. And number two, the responsibilities of coaches is 3 things. One, respect the game of the past. If you've got no respect for the game of the past, you've got absolutely 0 possibilities of moving forward. Understand the game of the present. What is happening? What are these people doing? You know, what is Thomas Tuchel doing? What is Pep doing? What is Klopp doing? What are they doing from a training methodology perspective, from a managerial perspective, from training curriculum and all these things, tactics and style of play, and then anticipate the game of the future. That's your last responsibility as a coach, because then if you don't anticipate the game of the future, you get left behind, and you're always catching up. So I have big respect for the game of the past. I understand the game of the present, and that may sometimes mean that the game of the present in South Africa might sometimes be the game of the past in Europe, because we are still trying to catch up. And that is the reality, but we are making very big strides, and I think you can see with the level of coaching in South Africa that I think the gaps are closing, and teams are very well coached. When you watch the games now, at the beginning you see that the teams actually are better coached. So it's good for South African football, in my opinion.
Thank you, Coach. Just to get into the business of the day, I think there's already questions from the floor. There's questions from and then Lorenzo, Moto, and Pasha, then Mashatse. It's 1 question per person, no repeats, so more. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Rumza. Coach Tsepo from PNCA.
Thanks, Tsepo.
Looking ahead of Saturday's match, it looks like the Chiefs' style is changing. It's sort of like a high-octane football. And looking at yourselves also playing that kind of a football, it looks like on Saturday is going to be a clash of the Titans, Blockbuster clash. What do you make of the style of football that Chiefs are starting to play?
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. But I think the fixture in itself has always presented that type of spectacle where I think you even see with the numbers inside the media room how much of an anticipation there is from the general public and the football lovers. And that's how it should be, you know. In football nations, the big football clubs drive the interests, they drive the passion and the play from a technical perspective. So I know Coach Arthur well. We come a long way from the days of Black Poison versus Galatasaray. So we have huge respect for each other, but that's as far as it goes, because on match day at the end is 11 versus 11, and then it's the quality of the pitch, the quality of the performances from 11 players that ultimately gives you a good football match.
Coach, during some interesting times, Arthur said after the win against Maritzburg that they're not going to change the way that they played against Maritzburg. They're going to look to dominate possession, look to play expansive football. What do you make of that comment that they come in there to Loftus to play how they want to play?
I just say that they think they are a big team, and rightfully so, and big teams never change their profile. They adapt and adapt to certain situations, but never ever change their profile. So I would say he is correct to make that type of statement.
Coach, Peter Shalulile is not off the mark yet. Is there a bit of a concern there, or could this match be a platform where he could, revive his goal scoring?
It's only 2 matches into the season. We all know that Peter's got goals. So before we start writing columns and articles, I think you guys know that he's going to score. So before we criticize him, let's just wait a little bit and give him a little bit of time to get the engine going. It's a slow start, but he will get goals. He will get goals, and that I can also guarantee you that he will get goals.
Good day, Coach. Just before arriving here, I was just had an opportunity to look at the players.
Yeah.
And the quality of this club, I think it's quite frightening as well.
Yeah.
The midfield players in particular. I mean, some of them didn't play yesterday. And
Yeah.
They walked into an EPSL side. Going into the game on Saturday, Coach, of course, this is a headache that you love to him, but sometimes does it really get you guys that he deserves to play, but he's not going to play? And how is it that you're managing that type of situation, going into a game where all of them want to play?
Of course, they all want to play. They all have the quality to play. That's why they are here. We have the squad that we have for that particular reason, where we don't only look for the depth, but we look for possibilities of also sustaining the quality on the pitch even while we rotate. And we sit in a position where we are relatively extremely fortunate. And when you do have that, then as the coaching staff, you've got to then adopt certain principles. And one of those principles or selection criteria is meritocracy. And that's number one, is that people who play will play because they deserve to play. Whether that is through past performances, whether that is through training session performances, general conduct on and off the pitch, and so many things that go into that. And then there's also the space that the players also have to open, for coaching mistakes, where sometimes we are unfair to certain players, and we don't play certain players even though they believe they should play. But ultimately, everybody has the responsibility to be professional, to work hard and to push and compete for a place in the team. which then gives us that selection headache that you are speaking about. And then that is the responsibility of the players to create selection problems and dilemmas for us. Is the responsibility of the players, but also they put a little bit of space in their hearts, because they are good people for mistakes, and sometimes for this unfair judgment that we might now and again seem to carry when making decisions about who plays and who doesn't.
Coach, there's a short turnaround of matches between last night and Saturday. And looking at the enormity of the occasion on Saturday, looking at the players, they don't really the hard stuff, even though it's still in the season.
Mm.
Does that mean that you guys are focusing more on the mental aspect of this than the physical? Because this game can really take a lot of the players.
No, 100% is a good point. Look, generally at the beginning of the season, you are still trying to accumulate match condition from a collective perspective and also from an individual perspective. But when you do have a short turnaround of time between matches, it's a good and it's a bad. The good is in the sense that particularly after a not so good performance, you have an opportunity very, very soon to wash it out and get a good feeling. And that's what you want, particularly in a big club. You want confidence, because confidence breeds good performances. But the bad is that you don't have a lot of time on the pitch to train schemes and tactics and reinforce certain tactical elements from the game, and then that's why you rely on video analysis to be able to check and analyze the performance, and which already we started by doing. So that already was the major part of today's training session, and then you focus on regenerating the player. The players now have to go home, rest, eat well, and try to be in the right space for tomorrow, where we work a little bit on the tactics. But generally, that's why preseason is so important, because that is the window that you get to instill the foundation from a tactical perspective, and then you incorporate, because you never train in isolation now in modern football because you've got no time. So we've always adopted an economical way of training that looks to progressively increase the load from the players, and that's why every season, even when we started last season, we said we need 4 or 5 games to get into the rhythm. We will need 4 or 5 games again to get into our rhythm, and as soon as we are in that space and we catch on, we know that we are one of the best, if not the best sides in this league, and we have that responsibility to always show that personality on the pitch.
Coach, when you look at the squad that you have, obviously this season having started now, are you happy with what you have? Are there any positions that you feel you may need to sort of beef up?
We are very happy with what we have. We've got a good squad. We've improved the squad from what we had last season already. We are stronger than last season already, without potential incomings, but we are very happy with what we have at the moment.
Coach, in terms of using the previous Chiefs game as a reference, I think the last 3 seasons in a row we played Chiefs quite early, but they had Ernst, they had Gavin, they had Stuart, now they've got Coach Arthur. Are you looking at those games at all, or they've just changed in the 3 seasons that you've played them so early?
Yeah, there's a huge metamorphosis. It's not even a change. It's like the team has taken a different direction, particularly from the vision that the club, you can see, has set. And you when you watch them now, there's the strategy in the transfer market is also to get younger players like Bonyaupe and Solomons, and then they also promote and give opportunities to Bruce Vuma, to Tuzi, and that is the direction that they've taken, and a direction that they haven't taken in a very, very long time. When you look at the last three coaches, as you've mentioned, there would have been a huge reliance on players like Rama and Paka and Matoho. But it looks like the cycle is changing. It's changing from how the vision has been set from the top. And therefore that influences a lot more things, like the selection of the coach, which is Arthur, and he knows the DNA of the club. He played for the club, he worked in the academy and the youth structures. He worked as an assistant to many of the coaches that you mentioned. That also influences the recruitment policies, because you've seen the transfer market now, even when there are certain bigger players available, they've resorted to going for Yusuf Mart, for an example, and Dupree, who are relatively a lot younger than what would be available for Chiefs, you know, in a normal context of a couple of years ago. So it's interesting to see. It's good for South African football. They're a big club. They've got a good coach. They've got an extremely good squad. And the squad that they have now is a squad that is then able to play the game that they speak about, the high octane, aggressive pressing. And you see the goals. You see the goals against Maritzburg. If Yusuf Mart doesn't jump out of midfield and go and be persistent with the press, then maybe there's no mistake, and then there's no possibility for Keegan Dolly to score. But the same happened even in the first goal. You know, you look how aggressive the midfield line was in joining the front three. But you need the right profile of players to be able to do that. So the vision, the recruitment, the playing methodology, style is good to see that it's aligned. And we know we've got a very difficult game for us on Saturday. But we love difficult games. We love difficult games, and we have the necessary experience to be able to deal with difficult matches.
We'll have the last 4 questions starting with on repeats.
Yeah.
Yesterday you played against CS Galaxy, and in their lineup there was a young athlete that was 18 years old. You just mentioned that Chief is promoting the likes of Tutuzi Shabala, FC, the Stellan Bosch, Oshwin Andres. Is there maybe, then Sundowns maybe take the time to go into development and look at the players they can give game time, considering the amount of players you're bringing in experience? Thank you.
It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility, and we try every season. It's not entirely dependent on us. It's, of course, the coaches have a say, but you know how football is. You know, players stay longer in the first team or in football clubs than the coaches, and then the club has got to also make those type of decisions. But we've got a couple of youngsters that are already training with us, and the club will make the necessary announcement pretty soon. There's an exciting youngster that's training with us, Ntando. Was at School of Excellence Special. Yeah, he comes from Ratanda. He's, let's just say special.
Position?
Depends on it depends, but extremely. I can say to you that in the academy he played. At School of Excellence, he even played centre back. But in our academy, he played as an 8, he played as a 10, he played even as a false 9. But yeah, we have to also guard against making the same mistakes we've made in the past, like overhyping players and especially the young ones, and give them time, give them opportunities to learn, to keep their feet on the ground, to stay focused, and that's why I don't want to talk too much about him, because I don't want him to be overly exposed to the media, because you know what starts to happen, and then of course because he comes from the East End, you know, you've got to be very careful. We know what happens with players from that side. Although they just seem to produce very, very good players. It looks like it's the Rio de Janeiro of South African football.
Timba Shabalala, Joseph from Sports. Coach, I just want
Sure,
to find
Titi.
out something. The game on Saturday, Sundowns has got more senior players, they've got mature players, more experience even on the dynamics of the game. On the other side, Kaizer Chiefs comes in with the more youthful side, the team that is still trying to find its feet, whether it's combination or the personnel that they have. And already they say, the word out there rather, is that Sundowns, for the first time in many seasons, Sundowns goes into the game with wearing the Underdog's tag. Especially after the win last night and all of that, the lose last night. Where does that put you, knowing very well that these Sundowns goes into this game as underdogs? And where will it be lost or won for you?
Sure. No, we welcome the tag. We welcome the tag. Where will it be won or lost? On the pitch. On the pitch. And that's why I welcome the tag, because the tag won't play on the pitch. So we don't have the right at the moment. It's okay. We don't have the right. We lost the match yesterday, and Chiefs won the previous match. So it's okay. We'll humbly take it, and we'll approach this game with the utmost humility and accept that we are the underdogs for this one. That gives us no pressure also, so which is good.
Coach Kamkhana Mokhale from VOFM. We saw the introduction of Nazir last night. With the performance that he gave, are you happy with what he will produce for you guys moving forward?
Yeah, we are quietly excited about the prospects of Nasir. He gives us certain qualities that we knew we needed. The profile of the striker that he has, but we are again talking about a player that is under 23, and under 23 means there's still huge potential, and that potential needs to be protected, and we have to still be very patient with Nasir, because there's a lot. Of course, he comes from already being top goal scorer for one, and maybe could have been 2 seasons in a row had he finished the season and not come too early to us. But the reality is when you and it's very difficult, because to quantify potential of young players is very, very difficult. But we, with a little bit of the experience that we have in working with young players in the youth structures, we see a lot of possibilities to try to maximize on his potential and try to improve his competitive performance levels. And but that needs time, and you've got to be a bit patient with seeing the best of Nasir. It's gonna come, but it's gonna come with time.
Last question.
Yeah, just deviate a little. Yesterday, Mr. Mtsipe finally launched the Africa Super League.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell us your thoughts as you answer this. Is it something that is either in the past, now, or in the future influenced your recruitment to something new? And do you think it is a tournament that will really see us progressing, especially in terms of the quality?
Yeah, you know, I really tried to. You must excuse me on this, because I really tried this morning to watch the conference. I've seen snippets on social media about the comments of the president, and as exciting as it sounds, I have not given it a lot of time. I haven't even watched 5 minutes of the conference. You'll excuse me, because immediately after the game I have to get home, and then you've got to watch the game and make corrections, and then you've got to come back now and watch Chiefs' last 2 matches, including fortunately we have footage of their match against Marumo Gallants in a off-season friendly. So that's 3 matches of Kaizer Chiefs plus our match, and then you've still got to prepare for training and still be on time. So I wish I had a couple more hours in my day, but and then maybe I would have time to be able to watch and give you a very conclusive answer. But I think as time goes, the club will make a statement in relation to the champion, to the Super League, because I think it then lies on the hierarchy, and it's a level that's a little bit beyond where I sit within the club at the moment.
Chet, we haven't heard from you in a long time.
Welcome, Chet.
So,
Yeah.
Since things have changed since I was here, no one's asking about injuries. 45 hours to go to the game. Can you just give us an update? I see River and Sereno were back in pitch.
Fortunately, we don't have many major issues from an injury perspective, and we're looking to get a lot of our players back. The one that is still maybe a little couple of weeks off is Lebo Mabue, but he's doing very, very well. He took part in pre-season and completed 1, 2, 3 games for us, but was a little bit unfortunate to get a knock against Morocco Swallows in one of the friendlies. So not something major. Grant also suffered something with the calf, but that is also not something major. He's still on the process of getting the green light to join training. So the protocol is return to training with the biokineticists and the physios, and then once that green light is there, then it's the second stage of return to play. So even though you see Savreda, River on the pitch, they've been given the green light to get into stage 2, but not yet ready to proceed into being ready to play.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys. See you at Loftus.